Hello and welcome to the Dystopian View. Today I want to review a movie. I've seen it a few times and I saw it again the other day and figured I would just try my hand at reviewing it. So, the movie in question is Pan's Labyrinth, or in the original title, I'm gonna butcher this, I'm sure of it, El Laberinto del Fauno. Yeah, the movie is in Spanish. It came out in 2006 and it's both written, directed, and produced by Guillermo del Toro. The genre, I would say, is a fantasy drama with hints and aspects of horror, like classic horror, put in. But it's not really a horror movie, in my mind. The setting or plot summary of this film is set in Spain in 1944, so right at the end of the Second World War. Yeah. The main character in this is a 12-year-old girl called Ophelia, and she escapes her evil, sadistic stepdad, who is a Franco-friendly army officer. He's a captain. And she escapes him and runs off into this fantasy world at night. And in this fantasy world, she encounters a faun, a creature of the forest, who tells her that she's a princess. And in order for her to prove her royalty, she has to complete, well, survive, really, 3 tasks that he gives her. And that is the premise of the whole movie, without spoilers, pretty much. So my thoughts on this whole thing. I love the acting in this. I think it's awesome, awesome acting, especially by the main character, or the actor for the main character, a young girl called Ivana Baquero, who plays Ophelia. She really, really impressed me. I mean, I'm no actress, but I'm not sure I would be able to do the stuff she did and be convincing, and she kind of actually is convincing, I think. Otherwise, it's a very visually pleasing movie. It has some awesome special effects, and I'm assuming it's both, well, it has to be both CGI or digital and practical. But I can't really tell which is which half the time, and that to me is a good thing. Because if I'm unsure of what I'm looking at is a digital composite image of digital effects and then the actual film, or it's something practical like animatronic puppet or something, if I can't really tell the difference, they just seamlessly kind of become a part of the movie either way, and that's to me a really good thing. And also, the movie really manages to kind of drive home the notion of this is good and this is evil. And this is very, very much present when you look at the main character, Ophelia, who is a nice, well mannered, albeit kind of, you know, having a difficult time, 12-year-old girl, and her stepdad, who is a sadistic bastard in the army. And then you have the faun. And this happened each time I watched this movie. He kept me guessing, like, throughout the whole thing. Is he really good? Or is he kind of evil? Because you can't really tell until the very end, sort of. And even then, you just kind of, what? And speaking of that, both the so-called real world parts of the movie and the fantasy parts of the movie are beautifully made, very well shot. I really like the way they use lights and coloring and everything. And the real world is very, very raw and gritty and sadistic, and it shows a brutality that's unheard of, at least in my little neck of the woods. And I'm told it's a realistic picture of what it actually was for these Franco-friendly army people being like that at the time in Spain. Which is something to think about when you watch the movie. Notes, you know. And of course the fantasy world is fantasy. It's beautiful though. It's kind of dark in a way, and a lot of it is set in blue tones, so it just kind of feels more, I don't know, ethereal and kind of mystical and, you know, fantastical. And also it's set at night, usually, so that kind of helps with the whole feeling of it's nighttime, it's dark, it's kind of gloomy. And the fantasy world is really creepy sometimes, which is where the horror thing comes in. The level of creepiness is kind of awesome in this movie. So I would not recommend this movie for kids younger than, say, 12, because it's not really meant for kids, I think. So the whole rawness and grittiness of everything, it might be too much for a small child. But to sum up, it's an awesome movie. Do recommend. And I give it 7 out of 10.